Got a brand new controller here. ND962000 HRHA, the racing model. It's all in Chinese. Let's see what that converts to. Yeah, it says the nighttime edition. I've heard these called race and track editions. Maximum line amps 1500. Phase amps are still 2000, but that's all right. I never see 2000. Looks like the hookup is identical. It's got the empty pin on the corner there, so I can just use the wiring harness that's on my bike right now. Charging the battery up. ND962000 HR. Plug and play with the QS hub motor. Not a problem at all. 96 volts, 50 PL batteries, 16P 26S pack, QS 268, 20,000 watt hub motor. 268 pound bike, easy. So what is the difference between this HR 962000 race model and this regular 962000? Why does this one say 800 line amps, 2000 phase amps a max, and yet the HR says 1500 line amps, 2000 phase amps a max? The HR operates just like this EV Surin, and it also operates like this Vest controller. The regular Fardrivers that I complain about, I'm beginning to understand them more and stop complaining about them more, like that ND961200. They may be a superior controller, and I'll tell you why. First, you have to understand that we're not seeing the phase amps on our graph page that are actually happening. We're seeing an average, and it's also delayed quite a bit. And I know that because I put a clamp meter on the phase cables and measured the actual phase amp as it comes through from the controller to the rear wheel. And the difference in actual and what you're seeing is amazing. What you're not seeing is all the tiny spikes that happen. You might see 400 on your gauge, but it's spiking to 900, and you're not seeing that until almost a second after it's happened. The line amp reading is also delayed, and even more confusing is the line amp reading and the phase amp reading do not line up. So let's just talk phase amps only. The 962000 controller, whether it be regular or HR race, has a maximum of 2000 phase amps. And that's an absolute max. In VESC, there is an absolute max. We can't go over that. If we go over that, we're gonna get an MOE, current protect error. The bike's gonna shut off. So you can't set your phase amp at 2000 because the amplitude comes through like this. You're going over it and under it. You can set the max at 2000. So we'll put the 2000 line up here now, and that should work. But what happens is, it's not a really smooth line. There's spikes in it, and you don't know where they're gonna happen. They're random, they're arbitrary. You're not gonna be able to figure out where they're gonna happen. And this spike goes to 2800 and your bike shuts off. The regular Fardriver is super smart. It's gonna keep these spikes below 2000. So your phase current line is down here. When you read your graph page and the readout, you're only seeing average. You're not seeing that spike. You're just seeing average. And that's why when you look at your graph page on your 2000 controller, you will see phase amps go to about 800. And you're like, hey, this is a ripoff. I paid for a 2000 controller. I'm only seeing 800. It's because the math is being done by the controller. It's super smart. So I want to get the HR. When you get the HR, now you can put them at 2000, and it actually will go to 2000. When you put a regular controller's phase amps to 2000, the controller is going to do the math and only give you 800. With the HR or the Surin or a VESC, you can set it at 2000 all day long, but you're gonna spike above it. You're gonna get an overcurrent. You're gonna shut your bike down. So you have to set your phase amps maximum so you don't exceed that 2000 with spikes and overcurrent. You got about here to here, you might wanna put 1000 in there. And now you're going along and it spikes and it gets right to the edge and comes back down and you're safe. So it'll run good with 1000. If it doesn't, you're gonna have to lower those to 900 and try it again, because you can't see these. You have to trust that MOE error spike is telling you when you've exceeded that. So is the HR a better controller than the regular? Well, that's a loaded question. If you can tune your bike good enough to control these spikes, and if you can get these spikes right near the edge, then yes, you might, and that's a big maybe, that's a big if, you might be able to outperform what Fardriver did doing your own settings. That's what we're gonna find out, because I've already ran a Fardriver 962000, Now I'm trying to do the HR Racing 2000. So far, Fardriver regular 2000 is winning. By the time I run this thing for the video, it's been ran 100 times. In hindsight, I would just go with the regular 2000 and not the HR because there's so much work involved with the HR. So you might have heard the statement, a Vesk is way more powerful, an EV Surin is way more powerful, the HR Fardriver is way more powerful, and all three also ramp up quicker. Yes, there's some true and false to that. They do ramp up quicker and they are more powerful because when you set them to 2000, they're going to try to give you 2000. When you set the regular Fardriver to 2000, it might give you 800 because it's doing math and planning on these spikes. The downside is when you put your racing stuff at 2000, you're going to bust through it eventually. Without MOE Protect on, you will burn your controller up. So I don't recommend disabling your MOE. I know guys do. So when you set a Vesk or a Surin or a racing Fardriver at 800 phase amps, the graph goes up and down, spikes, whatever it does. When you put your regular Fardriver at 800 amps, so it's gonna give you a line down here somewhere that hits 800 amps and comes back down. So you might only see 600 on your graph page, even though in your settings it clearly says 800, but on the graph page you're only going to see 600. On a HR controller, if you put 800, you're going to see 1000 because it is going to spike up here. And this is where the rumor comes from. An 800 amp Vesk or Surin or HR is way more powerful than a regular Fardriver, but it's just a trick. So really what it boils down to is, do you think with a stick shift you can out drag race an automatic transmission? There's a big debate. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Top fuel racers use automatic transmissions. Tuners use manual transmissions. So I'm going to try to outperform this regular 962000 with the Racing 2000 by manually tuning it. And I just made a video on how to do that, solving MOE over current. That video tells you how to manually tune these things. Good luck. May the best controller win. So the short answer is no. I cannot outtune the stock Fardriver. And I know what you're thinking. You're all about to leave a comment that yes you can, it's much faster, blah blah blah. So here's the thing, I cannot outtune the stock Fardriver with MOE enabled. With MOE disabled, yeah, I could easily beat the 962000, but I'm gambling burning up my controller. And if you don't agree with that, buy an HR controller, post your times. And I know one guy who's for sure doing it, David Annison. This guy's got an extremely fast bike. I'm not sure if he's using an HR Fardriver, but he might be using an EV Surin, same kind of thing. Yeah, he's been through a few controllers. He's running MOE disabled. He's knocking out 3.3, 0 to 60. But understand, he's also running MOE disabled. And I get that. It does make you fast. Remember that EV Surin? 3.7 on my 400-pound fake Ducati. He's got the world's fastest Suron. Doesn't look a lot like a Suron, but it's definitely a legit bike, and it's quality made. The guy does amazing work. You have to check out his Facebook page. It's pretty impressive. So about 2 days of tuning on this thing. It doesn't beat the 962000. On these runs I just did, I ran everything in ratios 100, and I just brought down line amps to adjust it. I wanted to compare the two. And it turns out, if you watch the video on how to get rid of MOE current, adjusting it in ratios and speed yields better results. We're talking tenths of a second in the 0 to 60. No big revelation. It's a lot harder. It might be easier just to adjust it down. Yeah, good controller. No issues with it. 962000. By the time you adjust it so it's safe and you're comfortable, you won't waste your $1,000. It's pretty much the 962000 regular. And the first thing I noticed on this controller is the same thing I noticed on the EV Surin. When I initially put it on, it was just, oh my god, it's uncontrollably fast. It's not even controllable. Front end comes up, it's crazy. But that's without it being dialed down. I think I had it at 800 and 2000 on the phase amps. It does throw the phase amps on immediately, just like the EV Surin. It's immediate. The back end burns out, goes sideways. If it grabs traction, the front end comes up, even on this long bike. So it is a crazy handful, and it's pretty cool, just like the EV Surin. amazing, but if you hold that throttle open for any more than a few seconds, you will hit a MOE overcurrent, and that was the issue. So to work out the MOE overcurrents, I kept tuning it down, tuning it down, tuning it down. I finally got them sorted out, and I was just a few tenths slower than the 962000 regular controller. So I figured I'd go out today and try a different technique where I just threw everything at 1500 line amps, max it out, and then just lower my phase amps to control the MOE overcurrent. That yielded worse results. My recommendation, 962000 regular. I bitch about Fardrivers, I complain about them, their slow ramp up speed, but the truth is, I'm finding the same thing on all of them. And if you think I'm wrong, prove it. Unless you're David Anderson, he already has proved me wrong.